Oh, hey everybody, POTU David here in the mobile studio. So this is Divinity and Truth Filter number item 3. So the nature divine source is, exists, number 1. 2, right? Unlimited, right? Because why would it be a deity, a god, the ultimate creator of all that is? I call it divine source. Some refer to goddess, if we're bringing gender into it. We use the word God generically, right, to mean an all-powerful being, right? In Islam, Allah is based on a friend of mine who's Muslim, is a non-genderized deity. And I jokingly says, well, why don't you refer to it as her every once in a while? And he just kind of looked at me weird. Just the way I am, all right? I wasn't trying to be offensive. We were just having a conversation. So what's number 3 as part of this series? Well, this is number 3 in the filter, but it's number 4 in this educational series. Well, the nature of God is unconditional love. Biblically, I'm in the United States, Agape Love, unconditional love. That sort of resonated with me, and also something that I found profound when I was younger, when I read the Bible for the first time. And I'm not here to promote the Bible, I'm just saying in the United States, we have 90% of people living here align with one of the versions of that book. Right, that first one into print, 400 years ago? Anyway, long history, a lot of debates, but the idea of God is love makes a lot of sense. And if you were to, use goddess is love. Historically, the concept of God usually represented justice and war and things like that. The goddess was about nurturing and things. And anyway, but we're just using divine source, right? Let's not get into the gender and the history and all that sort of stuff. To just the nature of what a divine source would need to be. So, and I realize I'm being, for my atheist friends and audience out there, it's kind of idealistic, because there is the whole moral concept of the realization that there is a God, but God is not good. I got hit with that when I had a philosophy class in college many, many years ago. So I always thought that was interesting. I never thought of realizing that there is an ultimate divine source, but that divine source isn't good. And, it's existentialism type stuff. And those are great conversations. And a lot of folks are afraid to have those conversations. I'm not here to have those conversations. I'm kind of creating a filter that aligns with the idea of wanting to create the world I want to live in, right? Well, how do I create that world? Well, I need to make my decisions based on principles, right? And so I live in a world where a lot of people believe a lot of different things, and they're willing to fight and kill over what they believe in. So maybe where can we find some common ground? And that's kind of where the 5-part Divinity and Truth Filter came in for me. All right. So, Agape Love, unconditional. I'll go so far as unlimited love. So let's say that as a sentence for the first part of this, the 3-part Divinity and Truth Filter, which became a 5-part, right? All right. Ready? The nature of divine source is unlimited, unconditional love. Wow. Now you can insert whatever name of deity you are familiar with into that, or all of them around the world. Just it has a ring to it, right? It just sort of resonates with your heart and spirit. It did for me anyway. Maybe not for you. Especially if you've seen and observed a lot of really horrible things in life, you might be angry with the concept of deity. Why weren't prayers answered? Those are very important questions, and I've been there too. conversation for another time, for life navigational stuff, right? So how does this work as a filter, which is probably most important, right? Well, any teaching that goes against a concept of unconditional love would not be of a divine source, which forces you and I to ponder, well, what is unconditional love? See, I see a lot of folks like wanting to cling to older alleged revelations from deity rather than newer revelations of deity. Judeo-Christian Bible, the Bible, is a great example of that. So we have this older collection of works from a very barbaric period in human history where God is kind of angry and vengeful and punitive and just mean. It's just my opinion. I don't know. You can have a different opinion. You could say something different about it, but then you have whole Jesus coming, right? And anyway, and that's just a whole different concept. It's like, well, what is it? And it's just like, well, it's a unified whole, but it really isn't, not in my opinion. So Jesus is a big thing in America, big thing around the world. Allah is a big thing in America and around the world, right? Depends on where you were born geographically. But all this stuff was still written by men. Yeah. It's suspect. Just because something's been around for a while, that's not a proof of anything other than people who were in power said we want to use this. That's about the only thing it means. We, if we're going to be responsible, if we're going to be divine-like, if probably a big Christian audience out there, if you're going to be Christ-like, well, what was Christ like? Right? What was his example? It's actually a great life example, even if you're critical of the history or lack of it in geology and stuff. Not geology. No, okay, the word just escaped me. Archaeology. Forget about proving or not proving anything. I mean, we can't even prove what happened a couple of years ago. We have video and audio evidence of things, right? So it's really interesting that we are willing to fight over, give our lives, our loyalties over to things that we cannot prove one way or the other, which really is a challenge for us, and this makes actually sense from a divine perspective, challenging us to decide what is good and godly versus what is ungodly. That's what the whole point of this 5-part Divinity and Truth Filter was for me. It's like, well, how can I listen to a modern speaker talking about anything from any religion in the world, and how can I determine whether or not there's divine inspiration there or not? I mean, it'd be really great if someone just boom and all powerful and, you know, all these mythologies from ancient times was happening today, and yet all the stuff that's happening today tends to be proven as fraud. Use of technology, use of psychology, weaponized against people who are really, really seeking answers. I mean, we almost thought John of God was a cool thing for a long time. Even Oprah, like, wow, look at what this guy's doing. And then he turns out to be kind of a sexual predator on steroids and all sorts of fraudulent things. So, you know, yeah, how do we sort it out? Well, that's what the 5-part Divinity and Truth Filter is, okay? What's the meaning of life is a different question, right? This is about sorting out things that are ruling our world, how we make our decisions, how people in power make decisions, what reigns in their power in a way that helps their decision making for the good of all. Well, if it doesn't take into the concept of the divine is unconditionally loving, then all of a sudden we have all these beliefs and ideologies that, well, love is conditional. And that's a big problem for me. It's one of the big problems I have with a lot of religions is they've taken a very pure concept, right? saying, okay, we created all this beautiful stuff. We may not understand a lot of things, but everything is just incredible, right? Hannah Park. Okay, so is love, unconditional love, conditional? Well, I will love you unconditionally provided all these man-made conditions are met. That never made sense to me, right? I mean, children, right? Allegedly we're children, right? Doesn't mean we're supposed to stay children. We're supposed to grow up, right? Right? I know there's a lot of metaphors out there. Oh, just be like a child. Just stay a child. It's like, no, I kind of think if we're children of a divine source, of a god or a goddess or whatever, part of our job is to grow up spiritually, religiously. We're supposed to grow up, not be dumb, not be ignorant. But a lot of systems want you, apparently, in my opinion, want you to set aside everything and just be good little followers. So how can you be godlike or Christ-like or be divine if you're just a ignorant follower following another human? I love the whole good shepherd thing, right? Good shepherd's a businessman. They breed the sheep, slaughter the sheep for profits. It's actually a pretty interesting metaphor if you think about what it really means. Protects against the big bad wolf, right? But the wolf has got a divine purpose, doesn't it? Yeah, so no, these are bad metaphors if we want to create peace on earth, goodwill to all. These concepts aren't going to work. So we already have the idea baseline. It resonates. Unconditional love. Well, that's your assignment. Ponder, what is unconditional love? Where does it exist in our world? Usually newborn babies is about the only place where it really exists. And as the baby gets older, suddenly the love is always there, right? But there's conditions on things, it seems. Yeah, it's a challenge. The idea or the ideology of an all-powerful, ultimate, unlimited, unconditional loving deity makes sense. So, as a filter, that cuts to the quick of a lot of religious belief systems where suddenly deity has all these conditions that limit its love. That's the challenge. So a 3-part Divinity and Truth Filter, which was the original insight, but it wasn't enough. Acknowledging a divine is, or if a divine did exist, what would it need to be? It would need to be unlimited. That's kind of common sense, right? All the omni stuff, right? And then love is a big thing, right? When we see nature creating, right? Do we have any debate over animals when they have their babies that it's not just instinct there that's going on, that there's love? The natural drawing of humans to babies and the desire to protect, to prize these feelings of love, and if these are huge. So I think number 3 is pretty valid. And it may be a challenge to you because suddenly you're realizing, wait a second, my belief system has all these conditions and it's not unconditional love. And you're going to have to sort it out. You're going to have to ponder that. But there's more. So that's where the 4 and 5 come in, which will help you sort out the problems you're having right now with numbers 1, 2, and 3. So stay tuned. We're going to get there. All right. Wishing you an awesome day, week, month, year in life. We'll sort it out. POTU's pretty simple, thought-provoking, challenging, but it's not mean-spirited. It's how do we get you to being that divine self, right? Being Christ-like, to be somebody worthy of a revelation or whatever. Well, we have to get to what is the nature of a divine source, in my opinion. So, it's number 3. Hope this was helpful. and insightful, thought-provoking. You may need to ponder this one for a little while. Unconditional love. Agape love. God is love. So if that's kind of true, and it reigns true in my heart, then why do we have all these conditions that are anything but loving? Kind of ungodly, really. If it's a test, maybe I just literally gave you the keys to the kingdom, and it's always been there. And deity, if all this is all about some big judgment someday, maybe deity wants you to see if you can figure out that God actually is love and unlimited, unconditional love. Maybe that's the test. And if that's the test, it's about you awakening to that understanding of what the nature of deity is, and then being differently from that moment forward for the rest of your life, and all your decision makings, and your governance in your corporate and business lives, in your homes, in your family, in your relationships, in your friendships, in your parenting capabilities, dealing with your enemies. We'll get into that. All right. POTU David, out.